Hey guys, it's SJ and it is Baby Name Monday. I have a new name list here on my channel every single week and I do the name lists really differently. I love to find unique names, especially if you're naming a baby, if you're a pregnant mum. Welcome to my channel, or dad-to-be. There are tons of name inspiration ideas here, from vintage names, bird names, nature names, futuristic names, hipster names. I try to find the names that are about to get big so you can have something really unique and special for your little baby. So don't forget to hit subscribe if you love baby names. You don't have to be pregnant. Quite a lot of us aren't. And there's lots of people, writers who are here, teenagers who are naming their Sims. It's a really fun creative community, so I would love to have you here. So hit subscribe if you haven't already. You may be new here because this video is with my lovely friend Emily Norris. So if you are a mum-to-be, you need to be following Emily. She is like every mum's best friend here on YouTube. She's a really positive, loving, caring mum, but she is so organised and practical. She is like my yin and yang. So I'm really unorganised and I watch Emily's videos for motivation, for inspiration. She really helps to inspire you to enjoy motherhood to its fullest. She is the most lovely, caring, warmest mum to her 3 little boys, and I know you'll absolutely love her. She has great hacks, the kind of mum hacks that you're like, how did I actually parent without knowing this? And her pregnancy tip videos and her newborn videos have millions and millions of views, so you will absolutely adore Emily. So don't forget to go and watch her video because she is doing the names set to be hitting the maternity awards in 2020, all the top trending names, so you need to go and see that for the future trends. My video, I'm looking back at the big trends that hit parenting for the last decade. So these are the names that defined the decade and some hipster choices within them that I think are still going to be booming next year as well. So let's get started with my top 6 names that defined the decade. So at number 6, it is the box set baby names. So it was the decade that we all got obsessed with streaming box sets. So remember, you used to have to buy them on DVD or wait like a week to watch every single episode. And we began this whole new behavior, which is binge watching box sets, when we began to be able to stream them. So Netflix and chill maybe created a few babies, and it obviously really impacted our baby name trends. So it became massive with Game of Thrones and we saw these kind of gothic names trending, but the huge one over the last couple of years has been Peaky Blinders. So last year we saw the name Arthur being one of the fastest rising boy name and Ada being one of the fastest rising girl names. We're also predicting Polly, Tommy, Thomas, all of those names. I know Tommy and Thomas are the same. Finn has always been up there and it's continuing to rise through the popularity of Peaky Blinders. So it's really interesting. So looking at what could be the next big Netflix boom for baby names, I think it's going to be Stranger Things. So there are some amazing names in Stranger Things that I think could start to become popular. The main character, Joyce is a name that's had so much traffic on baby name forums and it's had a lot of love here on my channel when I've mentioned it. I absolutely love it. It's got that vintage cool, but it is such a soft and sounds so modern when you hear it out of context of thinking of it as a vintage name. Hopper, a surname as first name trend, is huge. I'll talk about it a little bit soon. But Hopper has also had loads of traction on baby name forums. Nancy and Billy, again, vintage names that have been chatted about a lot. So those could be great names to pop onto your baby name list. And maybe even the name 11, you know, Sunday, 11, all these kind of number names or days of the week names are kind of becoming where hipsters, where more modern parents are taking the trend of kind of traditional season or month names. So like the Aprils, the Mays, the Summers, the Winters. People are like, no, I'm going to use a number, I'm going to use a day of the week. So yeah, let's see where this trend takes us. So trend number 6 is filtered baby names. So it was the decade that we discovered filtering and filtering our photos, filtering our memories, using colour in such a new and unusual way. And our lives are much more filled with colour with social media and all the social media channels that we follow. Colour names have become so popular. Colour names have always been around, as we know, but we started being a bit edgier with them. Of course, it's a celebrity trend as well. Beyonce having Blue Ivy, and everyone was like, Blue? You can't use that as a name. So names have really boomed over the last decade. The name Indigo. How many indigos do you know? I know quite a few, and it's such a beautiful deep blue name. Coral, again, is such a stunning name, and that kind of orangey tone is really popular on social media. Violet is one of the fastest rising names as well. Olive as well. So the names I predict that are sort of a bit more just starting to come up within this trend is muted colour names. I did a whole list here on my channel. I will link it below, but we're getting into that more muted colour name trend. The names that everyone loved here on my channel was the name Ivory. It had so much love, the name Ivory. as that kind of muted and a bit unusual. And I think that beautiful V sound is so lovely. And the name Moss, that kind of deep green, is such an on-trend colour. I love the name Moss. I think it could be for boys or girls, but what do you think of the names Ivory and Moss? And number 4 is the year that we stopped thinking of children as pink and as blue, and we began this huge trend towards gender neutral parenting. So not separating toys into boy girl toys, not really defining our children in those traditional things we thought about, like boys are slugs and snails and things like that. We sort of were like, look guys, that seems really old fashioned to modern parents, which is, I think, great. In Sweden, actually, my husband's Swedish, they even have gender neutral nurseries where you don't ever talk about the gender of the child, and you give them gender neutral names. So gender neutral names have become really, really, really popular. I've done a whole list here on my channel and I get asked for them all the time. So the real popular risers of the last decade is the name Riley for boys and girls, Quinn for boys and girls, Taylor, obviously Taylor Swift, and Taylor's been around for a long time, but it hits so many trends. Got the celebrity, it's gender neutral, and it's a surname name. Wren is a newly popular one for boys and girls, a nature name, and the name Sydney. So Sydney for a long time has been used for girls, but we're bringing it back for boys and girls now. It's really up there as a popular choice. So what do you think of gender neutral names? Would you use one for your own child? I think they're absolutely lovely, and I think especially when you're looking for a rare name for a boy or a girl, looking in other lists. My personal favourites and names that you guys have loved on my channel is the name Noah for a girl. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I just think it is so cool. It's become so popular for boys, it kind of put me off putting it on my boy list because I just knew a lot of Noahs, or it was Bagseed, but my sister's like, don't use Noah because I'm having it by for a boy. So I love it for a girl. That would have really annoyed her, wouldn't it? And I love the name Sky for a boy. Again, just a gentler name for a boy, a nature name, an outdoorsy name, a traveller's name, a wanderer's name. It really works for a boy, and obviously it's the name of the character in the movie Mamma Mia. He is named Sky and he's a boy, and those got a lot of love here. It was also the decade that parenting became more playful and less formal, so playful nickname names saw a huge boom. So I think at the beginning of, in 2010, when I first became a parent actually, there was this big Gina Ford routines, regiment, strict kind of parenting was still very much the norm, and over the last 10 years more mums are opting to stay at home. There's a lot more playful parenting in the forefront and a lot more of a relaxed, less formal parenting style where it's more popular with more modern parents. That's my kids. I'm very relaxed. And that's come through in our baby names as well. So we're opting more for using the short name nicknames as the full name. Lottie instead of Charlotte are being used more on birth registers. Bertie instead of Albert, and even Albie are used all the time. They all end in IE basically. Millie has been around for a few years as well, and Freddie instead of Frederick. So I have a Freddie, but we named him Frederick, and I think now if I was having him 10 years on, it would be much more unusual to actually use the Frederick as a long form. But what do you think of that trend, and have you noticed it? What nickname names have you heard booming? The name Hallie was the fastest rising girl nickname name of last year. It entered the top 100 for the first time. Hallie. That's lovely, isn't it? It sounds really, really gentle. And Wilf was the fastest, most popular boy nickname name used last year. Last year, Wilf. So 2010 was a decade when we lost a lot of great, huge stars, and iconic surname names saw a massive boom. So it's really interesting if you look at the statistics. So when Michael Jackson passed away in the summer of 2009, the name Jackson then massively leapt forward. It went up about 100 places, went into the top 100 for names for the first time ever in 2010, and it's continued to rise. And Emily has a Jackson, so she's probably going to influence that as well. But it was just really interesting to see how not only have surname names boomed, but particularly honouring somebody who was an icon in our lives and brought so much to us through music. So similarly the name Bowie, so after David Bowie passed away in 2016, in 2017 his name had leapt 1018 places, the name Bowie being used. So it's an interesting trend. It's one that's been around for a long time. We do like to commemorate people within names, and using icons, surnames seems to be the big trend of 2010. And at number 1, it is Ancestry baby names. So it was the decade that didn't Ancestry searches just become so normal. Like for a while it was like if you wanted to research your family tree, it was something that great grandparents did, and it was very, very complicated. Nowadays everyone is gifting Ancestry searches, swabbing their mouths with DNA, sending it off, and you get so much detail now. So it was the year that this became really, really trendy and more young people were doing it, and you saw that reflected in baby names as we are looking for these super old vintage ancestry type of names. So we saw super vintage boy names being a massive trend of 2010 to 2020. So names like Wilfred that we've talked about, Stanley, Theodore being one of the fastest rises of the decade, so really coming back into fashion. Frank coming back into fashion. It had been such an outdated name, really coming back as people went further back in history to look at for inspiration. And I will do a 1920s baby name list as well. I think if you're looking for something that hasn't quite come back into fashion just yet, you could go for something like Percy. So that's on the fringes of some people going, oh, it's still a bit off, but I really love it. Or Basil. So Basil hits so many trends because it is like a naturey, a foodie one, a really super old vintage name, and I think it's going to be one that's going to start getting a lot of use because it's being chatted about a lot online. So Percy and Basil a step too far for you? I don't know, they're not for me, but I have a very high threshold for weird names. Luckily I have a husband who reins me back in. So I hope you enjoyed my top 6 baby name trends that defined the decade. Head over to Emily's video now to see the names that are booming in 2020. You need to know those names, you need to know what's about to set to become really popular, and I've seen her name list and they are really interesting as well. They're not what you would expect. Emily's channel is linked below and her video is there. Don't forget to tell her I sent you. Subscribe while you are there. You will absolutely love Emily. She's super playful, she's super happy, she's super realistic. She cracks me up and she's one of my lovely, most supportive friends in real life. And I will see you here very soon next week for more baby names. Take care everyone. Bye bye.